From RTV6 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A century of speed. A 6 News special.
Hello everyone, I'm Todd Connor and welcome to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. In just a couple of moments you'll hear that two-seater action has already begun. This year, 6 News is proud to join in celebrating 100 years of the greatest spectacle in racing. Now over the next 3 weeks, we're going to take you through the rich history of the Indianapolis 500 and meet the men and women who've made this the world's largest one-day sporting event.
And Todd, I know this is your first 500 with Channel 6. Great to have you on board. And as always, we've got your pass to pit road. Let you know everything you need to know about this year's race.
It all begins right here at the start-finish line. More than 3,000 cars have crossed this very spot to begin racing for their chance at history. That first green flag dropped right here 100 years ago this month. Derek Thomas guides us through the 100 years of glory on the track.
40 cars lined up for the inaugural Indianapolis 500. Most of them were stripped-down versions of passenger cars. Although the eventual winner, the Marmon Wasp, driven by Ray Haroon, was constructed specifically for competition, it lacked a compartment for the then traditional riding mechanic. To compensate, Haroon, who was also an engineer, rigged up a 3x8-inch mirror on the cowling. It is believed to be the first rearview mirror mounted on an automobile. As years went by, speeds climbed. In 1919, Howdy Wilcox turned a qualifying lap at over 100 miles per hour. 6 others accomplished the feat, and Garnet Thomas won the pole at 104.78 miles per hour. The steady Wilcox started second and won the race, which was the first to be held after World War I. By 1936, the Indianapolis 500 was a spectacular sports staple on the nation's entertainment menu. Louis Meyer became the first 3-time winner. He was the first driver to drink milk in Victory Lane, even though it was buttermilk. It was the first year for the Borg-Warner Trophy and the first time the winning driver got the keys to a pace car after their triumph on the track. In 1940, Wilbur Shaw was the first driver to win back-to-back 500s and joined Meyer as a 3-time winner. The next year, he crashed while leading the race 3/4 of the way through and would never drive in the 500 again. That race would be the final one at the Speedway for 4 years because of World War II. The Speedway fell into disrepair and Shaw would play a large role in saving the 2.5-mile oval. The largest role, of course, would be played by Anton Tony Holman. Shaw convinced Holman to buy the track. The deal was finalized on November 14, 1945. The Terre Haute businessman launched a tremendous rehabilitation effort so the track would be ready for racing the following May. The race resumed after a 4-year absence with massive crowds, traffic jams, and was a huge success. George Robeson won the race, but Holman won the hearts of Indianapolis by rescuing its motorsports treasure. 4 years later, Channel 6, at that time licensed to operate as WFBM, became the first Indianapolis TV station to provide live, lap-by-lap coverage of the race. In 1961, a 26-year-old driver named A.J. Foyt won his first 500. In 1965, the year of the English invasion and the rear-engine revolution, a Scottish driver named Jimmy Clark took home the checkered flag. In 1977, Tom Sneven, nicknamed the Gas Man, became the first driver to clock a lap of over 200 miles an hour in qualifications. Janet Guffert became the first woman to qualify for the 500. A.J. Foyt won the race and became the first 4-time 500 winner.
No, he's squirreling! No, he's spinning! Danny Sullivan spins, but he goes around twice and gathers it in.
Absolutely incredible!
Goodyear makes a move! Little Al wins by just a few tenths of a second!
Castro Neves leads the final 51 laps and wins the 85th Indianapolis 500-mile race.
That was Elio's rookie year and the beginning of his fence scaling celebrations. In 2005, Danica Patrick soared to unparalleled heights when she led 4 laps and finished 4th, the best finish ever for a woman. 2-time race winner Dario Franchitti won for the first time in 2007, and his wife, actress Ashley Judd, shared the spotlight with their barefoot journey of joy down pit road. It has been a dramatic and record-setting journey for this race. Its 100th anniversary is honored by a special stamp. The race has left an indelible stamp on our community. Derek Thomas, 6 News.
You know, if you haven't seen this yet, you really ought to stop by the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame Museum. A one-of-a-kind display, 67 cars representing 71 wins for the 500. The museum's open each day from 9 to 6.
On race day, this place will be packed with an estimated 250,000 fans, although the Speedway will never tell you exactly how many. It's the largest one-day sporting event in the world, and it translates into big money for Indiana's economy. The most recent study showed the Indianapolis 500 is worth $336 million to Central Indiana every year. But the Speedway is also the heart of Indiana's motorsports industry, which accounts for more than $3 billion every year in the Hoosier State. And more than 1,600 companies in Indiana say at least part of their work is in the motorsports industry, jobs that likely wouldn't exist here without the Speedway. And if you need more proof of just how synonymous the race is to Indiana, just look at the state's official quarter, front and center on the design, an Indy car.
The Chevy Camaro is this year's pace car, and it was announced just last week that A.J. Foyt will drive it. Perhaps no one more appropriate to do so when you consider all the records that he has here at the Speedway. Most starts, most miles, and of course, most important, he's the first four-time champion. Our Brad Brown takes a look back at Super Texas' legendary career.
Anthony Joseph Foyt Jr., a career resume unmatched in American motorsports. AJ has been a part of the 500's history for more than half of these first 100 years. Foyt cut his teeth in USAC midgets and qualified Indy for the first time in 1958.
I always dreamed of someday hoping to go to the Indy 500, but just mainly making the race is one that really stands out.
He came to the 500 in 1961 as the USAC national champion. A late pit stop led AJ to his first Indy win.
We come in and they give me the fuel sign, late fuel stop. My heart just quit beating. I said, I'll never get this opportunity. I'll probably be running this good again at Indianapolis. Through the years, where the good offset the bad, you know, back and forth. You win it, you lose it, and you win it.
1964 saw one of the tragic race days in Speedway history. Dave McDonald and Eddie Sachs died in an accident in Turn 4. But at the end of the day, there was Foyt, winning his second Indy 500 in 4 years.
A.J. Foyt, one of the winningest race drivers in the history of the game, wins the big one in 1964, hitting the jackpot to the tune of $253,000.
His next success in Indy came in 1967. Foyt was watching Parnelli Jones run away from the field when suddenly 500 history unfolded in front of him.
There was no way that you were going to be competitive with the turbine car, you know, unless something broke. But I knew I wasn't going to give up until the checker flag fell off. Going into Turn 3, I don't know, I was coming up on a group of the cars, and something just told me kind of to back off. I can't tell you why, but it just did, because I said, man, I got it won easy if I can just get through Turn 3 and 4. And then when I come off Turn 4, I seen all the smoke, and I said, oh, God.
Where's Foyt? I don't know whether he can get through or not. There he is! A.J. Foyt will win the Indianapolis 500.
Another 10 years passed before Foyt's most historic win. 1977 saw A.J. fall 30 seconds behind Gordon Johncock.
What happened? Smoke! Gordon Johncock, the leader of the Indy 500, is running down the side of pit lane now.
It's all over for Gordon Johncock. A.J. Foyt leads the Indianapolis 500. The black and white checkered flag, and in the pits, the red and white checkered shirts of the Gilmore Foyt team. It's all over. A.J. has done it. He has won his fourth Indianapolis 500.
Naturally, to be the first man to win it 4 times, yeah, I'm kind of glad of that record.
A fourth win at the Indy 500, unheard of at the time, all within 16 years. Foyt continued to be a mainstay at Indy and one of the true characters in all of racing.
A little bit ragged towards the back. And look out, a crash before the start of the race. It was Kevin Cogan from the middle of the first row, suddenly taking a hard left turn. Tires flying. How in the world could this have happened?
Well, I don't know. He ran right square in my damn left front. What are you talking about? Cogan? Oh, damn Jeff Andretti run right over. He's all over damn track.
The end of AJ's Indy career was another iconic Speedway moment.
But it comes this time, I don't.
He said, it's a hard decision, but there comes a time.
I think, like I said, it comes a time. I love all y'all a lot. You've been great fans. I love you. And I'll still be back, and we'll still be up in the winner's circle. Thank you very much.
There were some hard words to say that day. I'm through, especially we was running pretty fast, and everybody was talking about you could win the pole, and I said, no, I'm through, and that was it. I hadn't sat back in one since.
Fast forward nearly 20 years, and AJ is still here. Now a team owner, he still finds himself working on the cars. He's watched another generation carry on the tradition, but it's the legacy of Big AJ that's sure to live long into the 500's second century.
A lot of people know I won a lot of races, but the main ones they know I won was the Indy 500, so it's just no way to ever replace it.
You know, besides being a great champion, Foyt is a friend of the Holman-George family. Says he was more than honored when the chairperson of the board, Mary Holman-George, invited him to drive this year's pace car.
You know his voice from decades at the Speedway and his trademark phrases like, "He's on." But how did those phrases come to be for Tom Carnegie? We'll answer that when we come back. As we go to break, we want you to think about this question. How many of the original 3 million bricks used to make the Speedway track are still visible today? The answer when A Century of Speed returns. It took more than 3 million bricks to make the original Speedway track, but today you can see only 558 of them. They make up the yard of bricks at the start-finish line.
You know, when the action starts this weekend, the Speedway will be without one of its icons and one of our friends. Tom Carnegie died earlier this year at the age of 91. In fact, sat at this very spot, called hundreds of practices, and interviewed hundreds of drivers. But for millions, his voice was as much a part of the 500 as the roar of the engines. It was 1946. Tom Carnegie was hired to announce a local antique auto show. As the 26-year-old worked the mic, Wilbur Shaw, then president of the Speedway, couldn't turn away from the rich, dulcet tones of Tom's voice. So he and Tony Holman asked Carnegie to join the public address team at the Speedway. That's Tom in the upper right-hand corner. He called himself a true rookie at the track that year.
Nobody had any help. Nobody gave me any help or anything like that. I just had the names and numbers, like calling a football game. And I somehow got through it and satisfied Wilbur Shaw and Tony Holman because they asked me to come back next year, and I've been there ever since.
But there's way more to it than that. Channel 6, or WFBM as it was known then, first aired the 500 in 1949.
It's Hurtubise, the number 99, challenging Sachs. He's got him on the outside.
And then beefed up its coverage by hiring Carnegie in 1953. And he shook it up from the start.
One of the first things that I wanted to do was to have a trackside show during the month of May, live from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And the station was more than happy to give me the time.
Trackside reports bringing the news and newsmakers live to central Indiana.
I was always grateful that we were the first station to have trackside or have a daily program from the Speedway.
Now it's starting to hail.
A segment that's weathered the storm.
This is live hailstorm.
I never in my life.
5 decades of Trackside 6 programming.
Oh gosh, it's at 6 p.m. They'll have to tune out of our news to see it. Well, what the heck.
A tradition that continues today.
The track is open for qualification. We're ready. Let's go.
With coverage in place, it was showtime. And as speeds rose, so did the popularity. And Tom helped with the drama of it all.
Aye, Sonny, here he is, pounding down the straightaway toward the yard of bricks. And he's on. In the first place, it took me 10, 15 years to have any confidence that what I was saying was right. And then you begin to realize that this is theater. It's speed theater. And so then, growing up in the theater like I did, you began to do those little things. And then when somebody said, hey, I like that, when you said, he's on it.
It's great.
Well, then why not use it again?
The catchphrase quickly caught on.
He's on it. And he's on it.
But it was only the start.
It's a new track record, a new track record for the old Tonight Eagle, 194.932. a new track record.
It's a new track record.
So many great slogans that he's had, one of them being Mario is slowing down.
I know, I hated that. I hated to hear that.
It's a new track record. You know, I can't do it the way he does, obviously.
And it's a new track record.
In the later years, Tom Carnegie's own mark at the Speedway was one of a kind. A 64-year run, never to be matched and always appreciated.
Tom Carnegie is the voice of the Indy 500. My first memories of Tom, really, him coming out to Albuquerque and interviewing my dad and my Uncle Bobby. Dad put him in a dune buggy along with my sisters and I, and we all went for a ride in the dune buggy, and Tom was just laughing the whole time.
You know, it's one of those things where we have known him for so many years. It's just hard to tell which came first, the chicken or the egg. You know, Tom Carnegie and the answers just go together.
You could take him to Daytona, you could take him to Sonoma, it doesn't matter. You take him and put him on a microphone at a racetrack, and if you know anything about racing, you know who that is on the other end of the microphone.
When you're talking about the Indianapolis 500 and the personalities that have made this event, I don't think anyone will ever be able to equal Tom Carnegie.
This is his home. This is his life. And like I say, he watched it come from nothing to the greatest sport in the world.
The race, a great American institution, but there's no doubt about it. Tom Carnegie was one too.
It will always be the roar of the engines and the cheers of the fans, but somehow it won't quite be the same.
You know, Tom was a great friend to high school basketball. In fact, he and the late Butler coach Tony Hinkle used to call games on Channel 6. That led to Tom co-founding the Hall of Fame, which now stands in Newcastle. But here at the Speedway, 6 decades of service. The voice may be gone, but his memories certainly are not.
The race brings more than just the world's top drivers to Indy. It also brings entertainment's biggest stars. We'll show you how speed has mixed with celebrity. But first, another trivia question for you. It's the most common surname in America, but how many Smiths have qualified to race in the Indianapolis 500? The answer when A Century of Speed continues. It may be the most common surname in the United States, but not one single person named Smith has qualified to race in the Indianapolis 500. Compare that to 7 Unsers, 5 Andrettis, and even 3 Chevrolets. The Indianapolis 500 is more than a magnet for the best drivers in the world. It also attracts some of Hollywood's brightest stars to the Speedway.
I'm Tricia Shepard here at Pagoda Plaza, where the stars will walk the red carpet on race morning. Greeting stars is a rich race day tradition here at the Speedway. Take a look at some of the images. This one from 1950, Clark Gable and Jack Benny. Or from 1954, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis cutting up on the back of a car. Or from the 1960s, Jimmy Stewart and Jane Mansfield. And in the past few years, some of the top names in music, television, and movies have been here, including Jack Nicholson, who waved the green flag for last year's race. The race has even welcomed 4 former or future presidents, including Ronald Reagan in 1976. And in 2003, former presidents George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton both attended the race. For some, the passion for racing goes beyond watching. David Letterman is a team owner. And of course, the late, great Paul Newman, who spent 4 decades in auto racing. Newman co-founded Newman-Haas Racing in 1983, a team featuring driver Mario Andretti.
Carl called me and said, how would you like to start an open-wheel racing team? I said, not a chance in hell, Carl. He said, what if Mario was driving? I said, where would you like to meet?
Newman's teams won 8 kart and champ car championships, but never won an Indianapolis 500. As we go to break, we ask you this question. On this centennial celebration of the Indianapolis 500, how many people have won the race? The answer as A Century of Speed continues. So far, there have been 93 runnings of the Indianapolis 500, producing 66 different winners. 17 drivers have won the race multiple times.
RTV6 is the only place to watch the race on television, and this year we are getting back to that rich heritage of race coverage in the month of May. Our daily Trackside 6 reports start this weekend to keep you up to date with everything happening on and around the track, and we'll be joined by our own driver analyst Tony Kanaan. We have 2 more Centennial specials scheduled for you on the next 2 Fridays, and then Saturday night before the race, join us for a 6 News special, 500 Miles to History, 1 hour with drivers and stars before the big day. And on race morning, start your day with 6 News Breakfast at the Brickyard. 7 hours of live reports, weather and traffic leading up to the green flag.
The history of Channel 6 at the racetrack is, there's just too many things to mention that we've done. So it is great to be back, and to be back in a big way this year.
And of course, you can find our coverage online anytime at theindychannel.com. Next week, our Century of Speed special will take you inside the extraordinary career of Rick Mears, including the one moment that led the racing legend to retire. That's next Friday at 7:30 here on RTV6. Thank you for joining us for this 6 News special, A Century of Speed. For all of us at 6 News, I'm Todd Connor.